everybody, it's Thursday and we are on page 259 and 260. Please have two sharpened pencils, a highlighter, and a ruler. And today we're going to be working with equations and metrics. There's nothing new, but I would like to work with you a little bit. The first thing I'd like for you to do is beside a number 1, write test 15. And beside a number 4, I'd like for you to write quiz and test 15. And then over on page 260, I'd like for you under 8B, I want you to write average weight. Now we typically do not do green, but if the green has something highlighted in it, I would like for you to do it. If homework has something highlighted for the test, I'd like for you to do it. Today does not, so don't worry about doing those bottom problems. Now, if you're one of my students and this is something you struggle with on every single test and you still haven't gotten it mastered, why don't you meet me halfway and do one of those? Your parents will have the answers and make sure you check it, okay? I want to make sure that everybody in 4th grade knows how to do these. So why don't we say if you do not, if you haven't been doing great on those, why don't you choose one of those to do? If you've mastered them, let's not worry about it, okay? All right, we're on page 259 at the top, okay? Let's take a look. It says solve and check these equations, okay? Now, b plus 8 equals 4 times 6. What do we do first, class? Solve the side that does not have an unknown number. So you're going to write b plus 8 equals 4 times 6, which is 24. Now, we have to figure out how to get rid of the 8 on the side of the unknown. So if it's plus 8, we're going to put minus 8. So put b plus 8. You see how you're mainly just writing what you see up here. B plus 8. Then you're going to put a minus 8 because if that's a plus 8, we got to have a minus 8 to get rid of that. Remember, if you have $8 and you loan me 8, you don't have any more money. Equation, the other side of the equation, you do exactly the same thing, 24 minus 8, okay? So you're going to put b, because remember the 8 minus 8 cancels. Then you've got just a b left, 24 minus 8 equals 16, okay? When it says check these equations, I'm not sure if I made that clear yesterday, but basically you're just going back and at the top where you have the b, you're putting the 16 in there, okay? So you're going to copy everything just as you see it, but instead of putting a b, you're going to put a 16. 16 plus 8 equals 4 times 6, 4 times 6. So 16 plus 8 is 24, 4 times 6 is 24, okay? So you know that n is correct because these two equal. Now if you come down here and these do not equal, then you know you've done something wrong. I said n because yesterday I saw n a lot. B, I'm sorry, is what we're doing. So B, if your B is inaccurate, you will find out down here when these do not equal, okay? Now I'm going to let you go ahead and do the other two by yourself, and we're going to go down to this, okay? Arrange each group of units in order from least to greatest, okay? Now, so I feel like you guys can do some of this in your head, and some of it you're going to need to go back to what page, class? Let's see if you can remember. 348, okay? 348. You may have to really spend some time trying to figure this out, okay? Now, do you remember us talking about millimeters? Millimeters are about the size of an eyelash. They were teeny weeny. What do you think is going to be our smallest? You guessed it, 20 millimeters, okay? What do you think will be our next biggest? Okay, now do you see, probably you could put them in order doing millimeter, centimeter, inch, and meter. But that's not what they're asking us to do. There are numbers in front of each one of these, and that is throwing it off even more. Okay? So 20 millimeters is about like you marking 20 eyelashes side by side. So that's pretty little. So I'm confident that 20 millimeters comes first. Now, you have got 2 inches and 20 centimeters. And you might be thinking, let's see. Well, we found out that there's about, let's look just to be certain. I want to make sure you guys see this, okay? So there are, because I think this one can be a little tricky. All right, the centimeter is slightly, you see it there in dark print? A centimeter is slightly longer than 1/4 inch. Slightly longer. So not quite a third, but let's just kind of just say that there's about, they used to always say 2.5. So 2.5 to 3. So for easy measuring, let's just say that there's about 3 centimeters in an inch. So if you take that 20 right there and you divide it by 3, you're going to have about 7 inches. 6 to 7, somewhere in there. So that's bigger than this. So that's all we need to know right here. So your first smallest is 20 millimeter, then your 2 inch, okay? Now 20 centimeters, okay, is still going to be smaller than 2 meters, right? So it's going to go 20 millimeters, 2 inches, 20 centimeters, and 2 meters. Make sense? Okay, now let's go down and do one more, okay? All right, so we started talking about liters last week, okay? Now you know milli, you remember how big a quart was, you remember some of these? Okay, let's go to the back, page 348, and let's take another look. I don't want to just give you the answers without you, seeing them for yourself. So the first one we're talking about is milliliter, okay? Milliliter. Does anybody see that on this diagram? There it is. 1 milliliter is 1/1000th of a liter. Do you see that? That's tiny. 1/1000th of a liter. I would hate to be thirsty and you have a 2-liter drink and you say, Miss Nance, I'm going to give you a millimeter of that, which if you had 2 liters would be equivalent of 2/2000th, right? That'd be a very tiny drop of liquid. Okay, so here we are. Which one's going to be the smallest, class? Milliliter. Okay. Now, you know that a pint, there's 2 pints in a quart, so the pint's going to be next. Okay. Now, what about a quart or a liter? Do you remember Miss Nance saying something when we taught this lesson last week? I'm going to flip back because I want to make sure that you see it, okay? It might take me just a second because I keep a lot of papers in here as I'm studying. Give me just a second. It'll take me just a minute. Okay, I have gone back too far. I'll go the other way. Okay. Here we go. Do you remember that I said a liter is 33.81 ounces and a quart's 32 ounces? And it says at the top, let's see, a liter is slightly larger than a quart. Do you see that on number 2? Which is bigger, a liter or a quart? A liter, yes. A liter is slightly larger than a quart. So this is going to go milliliter. Remember, that's 1/1000th of a liter. That's just a drop on your tongue if someone was giving you part of their liter drink. Smallest, next smallest, next largest, all the way to the largest. Okay? Now I want you to take what we just did. Some of you are going to look at these and go bam, 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 bam. You're just going to write them down. And some of you are going to need to go back to page 348 at the back of your book, and you're going to need to think about it a little bit. And that's okay until you learn them. Don't be afraid to do the work, okay? Now, all the way down here, I want to encourage you to do something. Make sure that you Go back and look if you need to on these. You see that? 0.001 meter. See what you see what I'm saying? So that it says to match that. Okay? So 0.001 of a meter is actually millimeter. And then you've got 0.01 meter is actually a centimeter. And that much of a meter is a what class? Decimeter. That much of a meter is what? Decameter. That much of a meter is what? Hectometer. That much of a meter is what? Kilometer. Does that make sense? Because the measurement of that is in meters. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, I was going to, let's see. I was going to go back to something that was on your test. Okay, the metric system uses meters to measure length. Do you see that? Under 7, the first one. Okay, the reason that is important, and the reason I took you back to that is why they're using the meter here on the left-hand side, okay? Now, how do you measure capacity? How do you measure mass? And how do you measure length? Capacity, mass, and length. Capacity, mass, and length. Okay, we're going back to our page 348. Capacity, mass, and length. Okay, see if it has it written this way at the back. Capacity, okay, capacity, okay, the basic metric of liquid capacity, okay. So when I hear length, I'm thinking meter, okay. When I hear capacity, I'm thinking liter, okay. And when I'm thinking mass, I'm thinking like a pound or something. But let's go back and take a look, okay, and see. So capacity is liter, okay. Mass is gram, and length is meter, okay. And I might could have found that in the back. I should have found it before I actually started the lesson. I didn't want to spend too much time. So capacity, that's how much is in something, okay? So that's a liter, all right? Mass is a gram. That's when you're weighing something. Like you might be weighing how much a bag of beans cost or something. And length is your meter. And over here, we were using the meter for length, weren't we? Okay? Now, let's see. I am probably going to let you... Let's do one more back together, okay? This one. It's been a while since we did this. Do you remember, class? Okay, take a look. All right, so do you remember how if it is the same, we don't do anything, but if it's different, we put a box around it, okay? Now, we are having to find millimeters, so we have to put a mm right there, right? Okay. So, but right now you shouldn't have all these answers that are in here. We have to figure them out. So, you ask yourself, when you go from centimeter to millimeter, are you going from larger to smaller? Yes. Do your arms if you forget. When you go from larger to smaller and you make that X, right? You multiply. Okay? Now, you ask yourself, how many millimeters is in a centimeter? How many millimeters is in a centimeter? And that's 10. Remember, it looks like little eyelashes. Okay? So your special number is 10. Okay? You multiply your special number by your given number, and that gives you 30. Then you plug it in right there. So this has already been brought down, so that's 25 plus 30. Now they're both in the same measurement. You can't compare millimeters and centimeters and figure all that out without actually getting them in the same format. So now they're in both millimeters. So 25 plus 30 is 55 millimeters, okay? So that's how you do that. I know you guys remember, you might just have to think back a little bit. We did those an awful lot a while back, mainly in the fall, it seems. Okay, now let me just look over the page. Multiply carefully. I would like for you to do 7A. Of course, you don't have to do B, it's green. And then I am going to do 8A with you. Again, on number 9, only do one of those. You only have to do one. If you know you're not great at them, please take your time and do one of them. Okay, B, I know it's green, and 8B, but we did highlight the average weight, and I would like for you to do that one on your own. But I'm going to do this one with you. Tina's little brother had 25 liters of water in his wading pool, and he splashed 1/5 of the water out. Tina then added 7 liters of water to the pool. How many liters were then in the wading pool? Okay, he had 25 liters, and he splashed 1/5 of that out. So if you divide 5 into 25, he actually splashed out 5 liters. So you're going to write 5 liters splashed out. 25 minus 5 leaves you 20 liters left. Okay? Now it says that Tina added 7 liters. So if you have 20 liters left and you add 7 liters that Tina added, then you have 27 liters after water is added. Does that make sense? It's pretty simple, really, if you think about it. Okay, I'll leave that wording there so you guys can get it. Okay? If you need me, you know how to reach me. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.